Welcome to the second episode of 15 Minutes with. I want you to know that there's a lot coming up, so make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Also, make sure you find time to watch this on YouTube. On this episode, I'm talking with Stephen Maina. He's a Senior Manager for Fixed Data Services focusing on the consumer side. We're discussing Safaricom Home Fibre. I've been a Home Fibre customer for a while now, enjoying the services, complaining about certain policies, making noise when things go wrong, and in my own little way, influencing potential customer decisions on which home internet solutions they should choose. This conversation was finally a chance for me to ask questions around customer satisfaction, why is it so hard for new apartments to get connected, the controversial policies, and more. Listen in to the conversation and share this episode with anyone you think will be interested. I've been a Home Fibre customer for a long time, since 2017 when you guys launched. I remember I moved to an apartment in Home Fibre just because I wanted to have Home Fibre. For very many people my age, my friends, whenever we're moving houses, the main thing yenye tunataka ni Home Fibre. Na sio Home Fibre yoyote, Safaricom Home Fibre. So today on this episode of 15 Minutes with, which we hope it will be 15 minutes, I am with Stephen Maina, a Senior Manager in Fixed Data at Safaricom, focusing on the consumer space. Tell me about yourself and your line of work.
Thanks, Dixon. I'm Stephen Maina, Senior Manager for Fixed Data Services, especially for the consumer side. I've been in this industry for over 10 years. The last 5 years have been now in the home space, and I'm happy because we usually say, East to West, home is
best.
Exactly. So I feel like I've landed where I needed to be. And what I do primarily is coming up with solutions that will help our customers. And day to day is just engaging with cross-functional teams that support you, that bring the service to your homes, and also other partners who give us ways of how do we elevate our services.
As a Safaricom Home Fibre user since its inception, the biggest reason mimi who use Home Fibre, hata nikienda kwa apartment waniambie niko na hii, mimi nitasema nataka Safaricom Home Fibre, is because I am assured of service quality. Nikiwa na shida, I'll call 400. When there's an issue, I'll be given data and all that. How do you calculate customer satisfaction, and how satisfied are customers right now?
The way I've put it just reminds me of our first campaign ads, where we used to say better option. And it's something that is ingrained in all of us. We always feel that for our customers, the best experience is what will keep them with us. Your home is your kingdom, is your castle. You need to get the best experience. And reliability is in fact one of the things that most customers say they stick with us. So when it comes to how do we calculate our customer satisfaction, we have contracted out to a partner who usually does polls. They call random customers who are Safaricom customers. We don't know who they'll call. And once they call them, they get to ask them a couple of questions, and then they give us feedback. So we get it in a form where we call it Net Promoter Score. It's like a thermometer to find out how the customers for this month, we keep tracking it on a daily basis, but let me say on a monthly basis. Then another way is also looking at our call center, because we find a lot of information coming through the call center. They are our frontline team. They get to tell us what the customer is going through. They actually guide us and tell us, this is where you should put your focus. If you do something around here, the needle will turn. And they are the first people that we actually ask or go to ask them, what can we do for our customers? So we give a lot of attention to our call center agents because they are our frontline, and that is on a daily basis. Then from an external third party, because you can be your maker checker, they give us also external feedback. After every month, they tell us, this is how you are doing, these are the areas. We try to correlate and get a plan of how we can bring better service to our customers.
Na sahi joto ikoaje? Ulisema thermometer.
It's been improving. We have had some dips here and there, and especially when we have, I can say, issues during the rainy season. When it comes to the rainy season, our reaction time also gets impacted because we say zero harm getting it done together. It's our safety mantra, and this does not get limited to us as Safaricom. It's also for our partners. We wouldn't want our partners to go out where conditions are unfavorable. So which means it can impact also the SLA. And also during periods where we had the general country, almost on standstill, that state also affects our reaction capabilities. Yeah.
What is the process of getting connected, an apartment and a home? Because there are times when I have moved to a place when there's a new apartment and you feel like I can pay rent there, it's better than here, it's new and all that. And I go there and the landlord tells me, nilikodi watu wa Safaricom na wajai leta internet. So what's the process of getting an apartment connected? And for people with personal homes where it's your compound and everything, what's the procedure of getting Safaricom home? Because it's home.
And it's home. Let me first just share my empathy with the landlord who gets that feedback. You called, we haven't arrived. Kenya is in one of those periods that I see a lot of apartments mushrooming and people getting the opportunity to get into new houses. What that means is that we are the ones running behind. We are yet to fulfill the existing demand. And as such, we find that when such requests come in, they have to be in our pipeline. It takes time, but we are really trying to make sure that we can, as much as possible, meet that demand by rolling out. So the new estates that come up take some time for us to get them, but eventually we get them. We have alternatives, which we have been looking at. 5G is one of the options that I had mentioned, 4G, and we'll look at other technologies. Now, going to the other place where we are talking about you as a new customer and possibly have fiber covering you. You can use *400# or you can go to my Safaricom app just to get us to know where you are. Even on our normal website, safaricom.co.ke, you can request. This is a channel that gives us also insights to areas that we need to roll out. So we get that feedback and we also look at and assess. We're getting a lot of requests coming from this area. Can we go and make sure that we have covered?
So kama mtu ana internet kwa apartment yake, landlord aambie tenants, kila mtu aende request. Kila mtu aweke request leo. So Safaricom wataona hii place iko na request mob.
Yeah. And another thing is that for fiber rollout, it's capex intensive. There is the equipment that has to be brought in. There is the manpower that you get from our partners. By the time you roll out, even just for an estate, it takes a while. That duration is where you find there will be a lot of discomfort because at that point we haven't told you when we are going to arrive. We are working on a mechanism that will help us even to give you better timelines of when you are anticipated. On the ground, we share information with our frontline teams, the sales team, who also feel the same pressure that you feel because they tell us that I have people who really want your internet. The challenge is that you are not yet rolling out in my area. And they are the people who help us also understand this is the area that you really need to jump into.
What are the costs for an apartment and a personal home? And what is the worst case scenario for a timeline?
I'll start with the last question. The timeline can be even more than a year. And conditions being, for example, if you are in an estate that doesn't have multiple dwelling units, it's standalone. For example, those big 5 acres and the rest. Unfortunately, you may struggle for you to get home fiber internet because we try to maximize where we'll get people at one go. So we focus if you have multiple, an apartment, and we try to bring it as fast as possible so that then people can quickly start using it. It also helps us in our books because we get our return on investment much faster. In terms of the cost itself, it varies because, for example, the equipment that we buy get impacted by our forex. So that also is an issue. Last, I remember a while back, we were also impacted when we had shipment issues because when you have few ships in the sea, it impacts the time you'll get your material. And also that also impacts the return on our investment. So all these factors come into it. And then last but not least, like I mentioned earlier, when you have what we call single dwelling units, those large estates that have single homes, they cover a lot of ground. And because they cover a lot of ground, we need more material. to cover, because this is a physical cable. So since it's a physical cable, you can imagine if you have a 5-acre house, Dixon, and Nick is your neighbor who has a 5-acre house, Emmanuel is there, the 5-acre house. By the time I get to the person who's lost that entire length, whereas if all of you are in one apartment block, I just need to cover getting into there. So which means, where do I prioritize to get my return faster, and also where I'll get many people at once. So we try to balance. We try to balance on those two elements.
A few years, it's 2 years or 1 year ago, I was scrolling through terms and conditions on Fibre. Saa 5 usiku. Then naona, this is new. Fair usage policy. So I wrote something. The next day, imeenda everywhere. Kila mtu anapiga kelele Home Fibre. Mimi, my article was Safaricom is destroying Home Fibre with fair usage policy. So it became an issue. I wasn't amused, and then you guys tried to explain why that was the case and all that. But finally, ndio nina meet mtu anawaka Home Fibre. Sasa, why did you introduce fair usage policy, and how has that affected both the business and the customers?
Fair usage policy is an industry-wide practice if you start looking at it from that angle. The essence is to protect the customer experience. So I would like just to paint a picture for you. You can imagine the time where we had scarce sugar. Most of the time, the supermarkets will say you are limited to only buy
1 kg
or 1 kg, because there is somebody who has the capacity to buy the entire stock that is there, but we want to make sure everyone gets equitable share. And that's what we are trying to address when we come with fair usage policy. And this is because we do find instances where some, not all, are using against our terms and conditions, where we don't promote people to resell, and as such they put strain on our network, because your behavior, Dixon, is, well, you already know your own behavior. For example, I will be using internet within certain periods. I'll do a routine activity of maybe watching or downloading. You don't steer away or divert from that a lot. But then all of a sudden, your usage goes 4 times high, and you're by yourself. It doesn't make sense.
Kuna movie mpya imetoka na download. Ama pengine nimebuy Xbox.
No.
Because, for example, I have an Xbox. If I want to download a game, it's 128 GB.
It is, and you'll see it once. Then next month, we'll see whether or not you do the same, and that. And by the time we make this decision, we have looked at a trend and to assess. So we know at some point, this is your behavior. This is the kind of usage you do. And because of that, then we can say the fair usage policy, to make sure everyone gets equitable experience on our network, is to put certain thresholds. If you go beyond that threshold, we have to reduce it, because now you start impacting other people. The element of internet, even on its basic cause, you will find that the requests are always sort of put in a, fast come, fast served. So if somebody is just using the entire pipe,
it's a problem.
Exactly.
How has it affected business and customers?
At first, there was an adverse reaction, just like you mentioned, but eventually customers came to realize even those thresholds, they were not impacting them. Because it was generally the fear that I will now have my internet blocked. So it was a wait and see. And now they saw I'm not being blocked, which meant then this was not adversely affecting me. But for those who were adversely affected are those who were the outliers, the ones that we felt for sustainability of our network, we needed to at least change their behavior and use within what we felt is the fair amount.
So Sharukia, a question I was asking as number 4 is Safaricom is Home Fibre is a shared connection. It's 4-1, I believe. If I'm wrong, you'll correct me. That's why certain times you feel internet is not as strong as it was at a certain point because you're sharing the connection. Is there an option for a dedicated connection where people could pay more? Is that something Safaricom is looking into? Because with working from home, there are people who need a fast, dedicated connection, whether it's gaming, whether it's calls and all that.
As we started off, we had actually looked at having 2 particular offers. So we call the above the line offers, which is readily available, off the shelf, is what you currently have.
Yes.
Then bespoke is what you are asking for, where if you are to give you a dedicated connection, which will be more expensive, and you'll have to pay that extra. But the concern, and even what we found after investigating, is that very few customers were asking for it. The ones that were actually asking for it were for a business venture. And for that, it's covered under business. Our fiber to business has bespoke speeds, which you can pay, and they are dedicated. But when it comes to home, we found that in an apartment block, very few people, in fact, none were asking that I want a bespoke speed. Most of the time, they would have come, if somebody's there during the day, their speeds are fine. It's when all of you land, it's that when you feel like when we all land on the road. What happens on the road? Since all of you are there, you start going slow. But when the road is empty, you can go as fast as you want.
Sasa, on the same, my fifth question was, Safaricom has 8 Mbps, 20 Mbps, 40 and 100. And I feel, personally, you'll correct me, that having a mid-tiers will make sense. For example, I can afford I can afford 8 Mbps is 3K. But I can pay 35 or 3K or just above 3K for 10 Mbps or something there. Why is it that there are no mid-tiers or customized tiers where somebody can choose something they afford? Some people just want a 5 Mbps just for WhatsApp and YouTube on the phone. Some people want 50 Mbps or 60 Mbps. They can't pay 100 Mbps. Is that something Safaricom is working on?
I love that idea, Dixon, because you're challenging me, and that's the area that I'm in. How do we evolve our offerings to have, for example, choose your plan kind of thing? We have it on the GSM side, so can we do it on the fiber? Something we have been trying to do on paper, see how it will be. The interesting thing is that if I was to take you pre-COVID, our speeds were actually 5, 10, 20, and 40.
Yes.
And we've doubled with a marginal increase in terms of price. And what that did was that the entire market followed suit. So we followed suit by moving towards the 10 Mbps. In itself, we did that consciously so that even other players could find their place to give offerings, so that then they can give what you call packages for different segments at that particular position. Else, all of us will be in a red ocean kind of place.
But I feel like having that makes you fight resellers better, because resellers watachukua 40 Mbps wagawe kwa manyumba.
Again, so that's why we had to talk about FPP, and it's not good that resellers do that, because what they take away is that the effort the company has been putting into it, the investment. Every year we roll out over 100,000 homes just to try to cover, and when you start impacting our return on investment, it starts also giving us what we call reflection points. And what we need is an environment whereby we are supported, so that even if you want to engage in ISP activities, just go through the normal process, go pay in ISP, invest in it, get to the same level, give the proper customer service requirements or attention for your customers. The way they do it, as much as it's looking at for affordability, it ends up hurting not only the customer, but the industry in itself. Because people would want to come and invest in this space, other external ones. But if they find that this is going to be a tricky space where the investment can go away fast or eroded purely because of this kind of behavior, they are taking away from the population or the community such a good service. So to me, I would say, it's not that we want to compete with the resellers. They shouldn't exist. We should be competing with other players to give better service and give different offerings, so that then we see which group are we missing out, who do we need to target. Exactly.
My final question. I am an unemployed person who works from home. So many times I overpay my home fiber. So I know for the next 10 months, 8 months, I'm sorted. But the problem is, my Safaricom app on the iPhone does not show all that. So I have to go to the Android to see overpayment yangu inaweza last how long, and I can't dial stuff to see how much my overpayment is. Could Safaricom work on that? The next issue is I am part of Silver Plus, where the offer came via text. Pay 40 Mbps at a lower price, but I can't see it anywhere on the app. Could that also be added?
Yes, thank you on that one also. In our earlier conversation, indeed, our roadmap for the app is slightly behind. These features should exist. I can tell you at least it's there on our roadmap. We just need to bring it to life in terms of the app, so that
Kwanza
you can access.
overpayment.
And
I need to
overpayment.
know
as it is,
I have
yes.
overpaid for how many months, so that I don't have to do the math myself, because you allow overpayment.
Yes. So I've picked that one up. We will do something around it, just looking at the channel that can help you get this information. Please, I hope you feel that your money is safe with us.
So that nili overpay na sasa sijui mbona imeisha haraka, mbona nini. So hata kuwe na a button where somebody can see my overpayment can last how many months and all that.
Okay. So I picked that one up. Thanks so much.
Now we can roll the carpet. You can say whatever you want to say.
Well, I just want to encourage anyone who's out there and has access to our Safaricom Home Fibre. Please pick it up. Every single day we are looking at how we are going to transform your home situation with the Wi-Fi. Reliability is at the core of what we give in terms of our products. We have partnerships with Showmax. You can see local episodes of your favorite shows. You can see EPL, which is back. And if you're a motorsport fan, you'll also have access to it. If you have a child or somebody that you want to protect them in terms of access of the content, you can also use our product SecureNet. All these are for the benefit of those who have internet. I'll just encourage you and also be quite thankful that you have been magnanimous enough. Even when we fail you, you still stick with us. That just shows your love for us. And when you get at times frustrated and you go on Twitter, you call us and the rest, we don't feel bad. We know that it's because you love us and you are just highlighting to us. We want to be, as usual, simple, transparent, and honest. And we want to make sure that your home experience will make sure that it is the best.
Thank you very much. Asante.
Karibu.